Hey, welcome back. Just prepping some vegetables to go along with a meal later on in the day. And the first one that we are doing is carrot sticks. So you're just gonna get your vegetable peeler and just peel those vegetables. Okay, so peel all your carrots first. When you're finished peeling your carrots, we'll go ahead and slice them up. All right, our carrots are all peeled. From here, we're gonna lop off the very tops and the very bottoms. And I've told you guys before, make sure you're batching everything. So if you're cutting these three off and then you're slicing into these and it's just tedious and then you're switching gears, going back to the heads and the tails, it's gonna take you so much longer than if you can just do all the tops, all the bottoms, and then do all your peeling. All right, from here, I'm gonna throw everything over there. From here, go ahead and slice them in half. And then slice sort of a very thin piece here. And that is so that it will sit flat and it will not roll on you while you're cooking that. And so all we're doing, we're just making carrot sticks, right? Make them however thin or thick you want them. I'm thinking for some of these, they're kind of a little bit smaller. So probably in half and then half again. And that seems pretty good to me. And just toss them in there. We'll cut this first one in half, and then these baby ends, that was the reason we cut them in half. That is probably a pretty good size right there. All right, and now we are breaking everything down into smaller pieces. So again, we're just gonna lop off one skinny side, put it in the slices you need. This one's a little bit larger. And once I'm finished, I will add water to that. The carrot sticks do seem to do a little bit better. You see how it tried to roll right there? The carrot sticks do seem to do a little bit better. You see how it tried to roll right there? All right. So like I was saying, when I'm finished, I'll put some water in with these carrot sticks. They'll last a little bit longer instead of drying out and kind of getting that, that kind of white, dry finish to them. Just makes them a little bit less appetizing to eat. And just like that, we've got carrot sticks. Next vegetable that we're prepping today is gonna be bell peppers. And for these, we're just slicing them into strips. And if you saw my meal prep video, you know the way that I clean these out is super cut and dry, very simple. 2 fingers on the inside, 1 on the out, and you're just gonna rip that segment and the stem out, and then rip these white bitter pieces out just like that. And again, we're batching everything. So we're gonna slice everything, clean out the inside of everything, and then slice thin strips onto all peppers. All right, and so we're on to the slicing part. So all you're gonna do is put your fingers on the inside like this, sort of hold it like a claw. And all you're gonna do is run your knife. Do you see how these are parallel? My knife will never cut into my fingers because my fingers are bent, right? So this is a safe way to cut. I've taught my children to cut this way. I think my husband has learned some from it. I don't think he did a lot of prep at all before I met him. But you know, we're supposed to eat like 1 billion servings of vegetables a day. No, but seriously, you know, 3 or 4 cups of vegetables a day. But life is so busy. So if life is busy and we don't have time to meal prep, when are we actually going to eat those vegetables if they're not ready? Can you tell me that you're gonna stop what you're doing and make yourself a serving of something? And if you do, can you tell me that it's easier than spending an hour at the beginning of the week prepping all the vegetables for your home and knowing that when someone needs a snack or when you're hungry, you can just go and grab one of those servings and bam, you don't have to worry about it until next week. Everything's handled and everything's taken care of and you've set yourself up for success. And we are gonna need a bigger bin. And I don't think that did it. I thought I was going to have more space. I'm not sure that I actually do. A little bit, yes, but probably not a lot. All right, our bell peppers are done. Our last stop, I believe we have 2 more things to do. One is gonna be onions. We're gonna slice those up so that I can pan fry some down and end up making, I think I'm gonna make a bacon jam with them. But I really do like onions once they're cooked down. I do not care for them raw. And then broccoli. We've got to steam some broccoli so that we've got it for the week too. So it's been a couple weeks since we bought it. And now is the time. Okay, so I've got everything started for the broccoli. I've got my about 1 inch of water in here. If you look at it, maybe about 1/2 inch. I've got my strainer basket, and this one actually closes and breaks down really nicely. It's got little silicone feet so it won't scratch your pans up, which I really like. You just put it in and it opens as wide or narrow as it needs to fit inside. And then I do have a key as well that just sort of lifts that out of there so that you don't have to mess with it when it's steaming and you can burn yourself and very, very hot. We want to make this as easy as we can. 100%. We're doing a lot of work today, right? So we've got our broccoli. I use scissors when I cut broccoli up. And so these are just my kitchen shears, nothing fancy. And I just cut them all up until this looks pretty full to me. I've been doing this long enough that I can kind of tell, and I'll show you when that looks right. And then I had almost forgotten, like this piece, this is not gonna go into someone's mouth very easily. So go ahead and clip that down. You know, we tell our kids, take a smaller bite, but when we cut them so big and maybe they don't have the knife skills, we just wanna make sure we're setting them up to succeed just as much as we set ourselves up for that. So that one's probably a pretty good size. That one's all right, but we'll cut it down just in case. And you do want to keep your fingers out of the way. Once you go on sort of like autopilot with this, after a while, you'll just be clipping, clipping, clipping. Just make sure you keep your fingers out of the way and you don't get too complacent. So for me, this is a good sized pot of broccoli right here. So just clip these down bite size again. We'll stick it on the stove with a lid to steam. You're gonna smell what smells like just fresh broccoli steamed. And it's gonna smell really nice. Keep an eye on all of your senses for this. So if you're hearing sizzling, you know the water's hot now. If you're smelling fresh broccoli, you need to go take a look at it. Does it look, for example, is it this color broccoli now or is it bright? If it's a brighter, fresher looking broccoli, it's probably pretty close to being done. And again, you've got all of your senses. Typically what I do is I'll grab one of the smaller ones and I will just bite it at the end. You can eat it after that. It's, you know, it doesn't have to be cooked to eat, right? So just bite it. If it's raw, you'll know. If it's firm enough that it's not, you know, soggy or overcooked, oversteamed and kind of like, but it does have a firmness to it. That is what we're shooting for right there. So when you bite down on it, if there's a firmness, but it does give away, just the way that you would want that broccoli, that's what you're looking for. We don't want to wait until it gets dull colored and kind of smells bad. We want to take our own health into our own hands with our meal prep. It's done when we say it's done, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting these down to size. We'll throw it on the stove, and then I am going to slice those onions up. All right, let's get a lid. So we did have a couple that were spoiled like this. In general, the onion's fine. It's just that end that's no good. So I've just cut those off. It's actually the perfect time to be doing this. I'm really glad I made this decision. Okay. This one's a little bit funny just because it had some spoiled pieces on it. But ideally, you're going to cut your onion in half, leaving the head on one half, the tail on the other half. Sorry about that, something shifted, it startled me. So we've got them open, we're gonna cut the head, we're gonna cut the tail, get rid of those guys. And then we've got this little chunk still on that spot that was bad. And these are gonna make really nice slices, so it's not gonna matter. It's just nice thin slices, keep your fingers out of the way, thumb tucked behind your fingers. This, you think, oh, no big deal. That is how I cut the tip of a finger off about 20 years ago. So just be careful. Oh, you guys, today is the perfect day to cook these. The perfect day. I don't know how much longer these guys would have lasted. And they're not that old. I just bought these in the last week. I hear our broccoli finally starting to make noise. And hopefully you are tucking that information aside so that you remember. Listen for what's going on the stove. Yes, you can't be in 12 different places at once, but while you're cooking your broccoli, you can be multitasking and prepping whatever else needs to be prepped so that you're not wasting that time. Now, I mean, if you want to break, you want to scroll Insta or whatever it is that you want to do, be my guest. But for me, I like to get all this done and then get the heck out of here. I have better things to do with my time than live in here. And I like to cook, but better things to do than live in the kitchen by myself. I can hear the water boiling in the broccoli right now. So we will need to check that here in just the next couple minutes. All right, our onions are done. Put those bad boys over there. Now see, this is what I'm talking about. See this bright, bright green? And then we can grab one that's preferably got a full stalk. See how that's an entire one? So it's gonna be thicker. That one is gonna give us a true representation of how cooked this is. And guys, it's still super raw. So we're gonna let these cook for another couple minutes. All right, it's been a couple minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and get in here again. Here's another one that's got a pretty full stalk, you can see. And that's the way that it's supposed to be, that there's actually, you know, you can bite through it and it doesn't taste like it's raw. So with that, we're gonna turn it off. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get those in an ice bath. We need to shock the broccoli so that it stops cooking. So for our broccoli, this is what we use. And so we do go ahead and shock that. I'm gonna get some ice, put inside this bin right here so we can pour it over the broccoli and lower its temperature so that it does not overcook. So it's not too much, just this much here. So we've got ice. Usually I do this at the sink, but I did want you to see the process. So I'm gonna try to make it quick. All right, so we've got our broccoli. I've got water running just to get it cold. It is kind of a warmer right now, warmer temperature. All right, I've got cold water going on it. I'm gonna pour our ice. And the reason is this is the bin that this goes in. So I did have to get it empty before I could sit it on there. Now we're just gonna fill it up and let that broccoli shock and come down to a colder temperature so that it does not overcook on us. And we can let it sit in here for a couple minutes. Once it gets cold, we are gonna pull the ice and drain it. All right, so this is what we've got. I've got the broccoli inside of its ice bath. We're gonna let that ice bath fill with water. Once we've got it, right about here, go ahead and get that turned off. When you've got it turned off, we're gonna let the broccoli come down to a colder temperature so that it stops cooking. Once it's cold, we're gonna pull the ice, drain the water, and once it's completely drained, which does take 20 minutes or so for all that water to come out, but you're doing other things, so it does not matter. At that point, we'll go ahead and put it in it'll stay inside this container. We'll pop the lid on it, no water, no ice, and pop it in the fridge so it's good for when we need it later. All right, so that is what I have for you this week on veggies, on prepping veggies, like batch prep veggies. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. I hope I can catch you next time we're doing batch prep or a recipe or trying something new. Thanks so much for stopping in. And I actually do want to tell you, I don't use it this way, but I was almost 20 before I realized, if you look at your vegetable peeler, there's a blade on both sides. We've seen it our whole lives, but it never occurred to me that you could actually go both, and you see I'm not very good at it, that you can go both ways. If you're willing to make a mess, it is much quicker.